Season 3, Keys to Home podcast, Home Buying 101.
Good morning.
What's going on,
Let's
everybody?
go buy a home.
I know, right?
That's all you do. You just show up and you just buy it, right? That's what it says on the movies.
Absolutely.
And you're selling your things on Etsy, and it's super easy. Before we jump into all that, what's everyone been doing the last week or so?
Well, I'm mourning a really good football game loss this weekend for the Vols. Poor kid. Hey, you win some, you lose some.
We were at a wedding. Not gonna lie, she already knows it. We were at a wedding waiting for the ceremony to start. It was an outdoor wedding, and we had the game on mute on our phone. Some of the people nearby us found out, so we were like giving updates, and then we had to we turned it off before everything actually started. So yeah, it was a beautiful wedding.
For me, just kind of, still in recovery and just kind of moseying through each day and just getting back into the swing of things. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Lance, what do you got going on?
Well, I'm still transitioning into my new position here at Expert Lending. Of course, I just realized when I took a sip of my coffee, there's a shameless plug for an old bank I used to work for. But if I just switch hands, it straightens itself out, and I believe if it
Loan Bust.
There it is, Loan Bust. So there's a couple brands from the past, a 25-year. There you go, a 25-year sprinkled career. So loving it. I'm learning all the new systems. This morning I was working on some collateral that I didn't have ready for this call. We'll have it ready for the next one.
Yeah, because next one we're talking all about loans and types of loans and specialty loans. So that'll be great.
So the home buying process.
Yep, I'm going to share a screen. When we did this the first time, way back, almost a year ago, we didn't have screen share down to a better science. So I'm going to try and do this. I want you to make sure that you can hear me as well. Screen sharing is easier with two monitors. Sure is, but that's not a feature we're doing today. Hold on one second.
There you go.
Can you see me? And is there a way for me to see what I'm doing too? Because I can only see my screen right now. So it's coming up as that. So hold on one second. I'm sorry. Technical glitches. How do you unshare for a second?
Bottom.
Stop sharing, right where it says stop sharing, Jennifer. That would be your big clue.
All right, we're all stacked again.
I know, right? Okay, hold on one second. So this should be the full screen share.
There it is. Yeah, there's the full screen. Okay. Looks great.
Okay, perfect. So now can I? No, of course I can't. There's no way for me to see what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So I'm going to have to.
Well, we can see your mouse. So whatever your mouse is doing, we can see.
Okay, yeah, I'm jumping back over here, though. Okay, so your journey home. Benchmark, really quick, I think we're now closer to 1,800. We're a regional brokerage in Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama. I told y'all last week I'm getting my Alabama license as well since I'm so close to the line when I'm in Winchester. Can't go to Benchmark unless you've done 6 transactions and average 4 a year, I believe. You'll see my numbers in a minute. It's more than that. There are 3 agreements in real estate. You hire an agent to sell your home. That's one agreement. You hire an agent to help you find a home. That's another agreement. Then there is a purchase and sale agreement between the buyer and the seller. Okay. So they intertwine to some degree, but they're separate agreements and contracts. The average agent that you work with is going to set up a showing search for you. Agents who are in the top 5% of transactions will also look for sale by owners, expireds, and off markets. Y'all know that I have done this for a number of my clients. I think I'm between a half dozen and a dozen for sale by owners that I've closed on for clients. And then also, I've done some where I've written letters and said, hey, I've got a willing and able buyer. If you're interested in selling, they would like to be in this neighborhood if your home works for them.
Well, I'll vouch for Jennifer on that. In 22 or 23, Jennifer went to a town called Winchester. She literally went door to door and wrote letters, and the grand finale, the crescendo was 2 houses right next to each other selling to 2 people. It was really cool. Great example.
Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in.
No, you're good. And then the other things that I do is I network with agents and other professionals. This is what I have somebody looking for. This is what I have someone getting ready to sell. Do you know someone who might be interested? Social media posts, the reverse prospecting, the writing letters, benchmark agents. Obviously, I just said that we're a very active brokerage, and we communicate with each other about what we have coming up. And there are some homes that for various reasons people don't want on the MLS, and so we have access to those. These are just some of the reviews and recommendations that I've had written about me from buyers. I have others from sellers. Agents, I have a very good rapport with other agents as well. And since my first full year in the business, I've been a top producer at whatever brokerage I've been at. So this was updated at the end of 24. And these are just my buyer sides. You'll see that I average just under, for the most part, 100% loan or list to sale. So history major math, if you're selling a house for $100,000 and you close on it at 96.5, then you closed it at 96.5%. If you notice in 20 and 21, I did not have astronomically above asking, even though that's when people were going 20 and 30% above ask. My highest above ask was 106.49 to listing price, because we wanted to make good offers without issues on appraisals, among other things. And there are other ways that you can get a contract beyond just the amount of money you're offering. So on some of those, maybe the person needs to stay in the home longer. Maybe they need a quick close, and I can refer on Lance to be able to get me closed very quickly often. When you have a game plan, you need to put together what is your timing for moving, what you have to have, and what would be nice to have. That's your needs versus your wants. And why are you moving? And I'll be honest, when you make the huge list, and it's about a 2-3 page buyer survey I do, you will get probably 3 of those. And if you're a couple, one person is going to get more of their things than the other. That's just the way it is. But the timing is really important. I know we're going to talk about some young buyers here in a minute, but first you identify your home goal, establish your funding, then you look for homes, search for homes, then you go out and you see the homes, then you craft an offer based on what is important to the seller and important to the buyer and what they can offer each other. Not, sometimes, like I said, beyond money. Then you do your professional inspections, appraisals, you negotiate again based on those findings. You have your move plan in place, you do a final walkthrough, and then you get to closing. There's been a lot of confusion in real estate about how buyers agents get paid. So that one of those 3 agreements is between a buyer and their agent. It's called a buyer's agency agreement. You can negotiate with the seller to pay the buyer's agent's compensation. The buyer may have resources to be able to pay you on, their agent on their own. Or you can sometimes add equity from your current home. I've done this on a for sale by owner. The seller did not have the margins to pay all of the buyer's agent's compensation that we had agreed to. They paid a portion. And then, again, history major math. Let's say that they paid $3,000 and there was another $5,000 that was owing based on the buyer's agency agreement. I was selling their home as well. So we were selling their home for, let's say, $12,000. And we added that remaining 5 from the closing of the purchase to the 5 or to the 12 that they owed. So on the sale, I made 17. Or you can do any combination of the above. My business is referral built. So it's important for me to meet and exceed expectations for my clients. I always ask, what are your expectations for me? What questions do you have? It's not the only time you're allowed to ask questions when we're first meeting. My phone's available for text, etc. When they have questions in the middle of the night. I am a realtor. I'm committed ally negotiating on my client's behalf, and I'm active and continually learning as a top producing agent and broker. So that is a really quick run through of what it is to do the buying process. I think we need to be on this guy now. Oh, no, I don't like that one. This one. So that's a really quick rundown. So let me give you a couple of scenarios that happened this week. I get a call from a past client. Hey, my son is getting ready to get engaged. They want to buy a home soon. Or no, my son's getting ready to buy a house. That's all I knew. I said, okay, let's talk. So he and I communicated. I said, the first thing that we need to do is we need to do a buyer's orientation. Even if you bought with me before, this is how does real estate, or if you bought a home before, whether it's with me or not, how does real estate work in Tennessee? Because there are state specific things. How does real estate work with Jennifer Weithman? Because I have specific things that I expect. I work as a team with my clients. And how does real estate work in the market that we have right now, September of 2025? Because even if you bought a house 2 years ago, it's different than it was then, right? So I set up about a 45-minute to an hour-long in-person or online conversation. When I have that preliminary phone call, turns out that he's going to be getting engaged. And I said, okay, full stop. We're going to be Mama Jen for a minute. Are you going to be engaged or married when you buy the home? Because there are things that we need to do. If it's a VA loan and you're engaged, well, then you can't count that fiance's income or anything else. So we need to know some of those things. If you're going to be buying the home with your other, whether they're a fiance, a friend, or a spouse, then I need to talk to both of you at this orientation so that we can all be on the same page and have questions answered. So we're setting up, we're going to talk tonight, 5:00 online. Had another couple who I've talked to before, and they're currently leasing and they're very excited. They've found a home they like. Lance is in the process of trying to get them qualified because they're a 1099 employee. They were W-2'd in the past. There's a program he has that might work, but when he and I were discussing it, you're technically someone's buying it on their behalf and they're leasing it back. So now I have to delve into, is that going to cause them problems if they break their apartment lease to buy this other home because they're technically leasing it? And a lot of rentals have a get out clause if you're buying, pay 2 months rent or something. And one of the hardest things is that when people are very excited and ready to go, sometimes I have to slow them down. Sometimes I have to say, it's going to be in your best interest if we do this first. The Javier, who we closed last month, I talked to him in late mid-July, and he was closed by August 29th. And he was doing the opposite. He's like, holy cow, I thought it was going to be 6 months before I got in a house. So sometimes you are ready to go right now. Sometimes you're like, okay, we could do it, but understand that if this happens first, it's probably better for you. And sometimes we're like, okay, we need to wait until this is in place. It's never no. It's always, what are we going to do? And then, when I'm talking to my people who already own a home, okay, well, what's your plan? I'm selling your home. Do you have to? And I always say it like this. I'm like, don't panic. I'm asking you a question. Do you have to sell your home to buy? Or do you want to sell your home to buy? And why would I make that distinction? If you have to sell it, then that puts us in a different position on offering. Lance needs that equity free for your down payment or to clear up your income to debt ratio. You need to not have that mortgage. So you have to sell. If you want to sell, then we can make a cleaner offer and make sure that we price your home so that it sells quickly in today's market. You're still hoping not to carry 2 mortgages, but we don't have to be contingent on sale, which even though it's a buyer's market to a neutral buyer's market, sellers aren't loving. And again, Lance has programs that allows you, they used to call them bridge loans. There are different names for them now, but there are different options. So next week, we're going to be talking more about that. But just as a really quick summary of the home buying process, that's kind of where we are. It's somebody's beeping me. It is, like I said, a neutral to a buyer's market, which means that if every buyer out there shopping bought a home, the supply would be exhausted in somewhere around 4, maybe 5 months. Interest rates did what? Dropped to the lowest they've been in a while, right? Now, they're not bottomed out to 2%, but they're the lowest they've been in a while. I have said it till I feel like I'm screaming in the wind. We do not have a surplus of houses. There's a lot of houses on the market right now, but we do not have a surplus for the amount of people who need housing. And when these rates drop and people are motivated to buy mentally because they've been blocked by the number, or they are able to buy because the ratio made that home too expensive for them to be able to buy it and they were truly blocked by the price, that is going to change our market. Right now, we are still seeing sellers take somewhat under ask. We're still seeing sellers, I'm talking when average home, if you're priced way too high, then they're coming even more under. If you're priced low, then you might be multiple offers. We're still seeing sellers willing to negotiate and pay buyer's agent compensation and closing costs both, and title, and be willing to do some repairs. The other thing, if you have a house that's listed at 260 and I get you under contract at 250 or 245, you may not get any concessions on repairs. The seller has already probably said mentally, I've given you what I'm giving you. And if you need them to pay for repairs, then sometimes what happens is if they don't have the margins to fix that for you, then maybe instead of 245, we go back up to 250 and we ask those repairs be covered. So anything you guys want to add to the right now in real estate, just a quick overview about how purchasing goes?
I'd like to add something, then have Mark comment on it. Would that be okay, Mark?
Yeah.
I know this is on his mind with bated breath, what I'm about to bring up. So these aren't, I was going to use the word clarification. So Jennifer mentioned above interest rates coming down. So the Fed has not lowered interest rates, but it does look like they will do that probably this afternoon. So today's the day that they're going to maybe lower interest rate. What's happened over the last few weeks and month is some people on the Federal Reserve Board. So there's a board of governors. There's several different people that help make that vote. They get together in Jackson Hole, or they do it online, and they make this vote. A couple of them kind of made some off remark. Mark can talk a little bit more about this. Made some off-color remarks about, maybe it's time that we change the interest rates. So basically, what happened about September 3rd or 4th is we saw mortgage rates take a pretty big, what the news is calling a drastic drive, but it dropped, and we haven't had one in years, so it's been very well received. What I want to talk in saying that, how the mortgage industry, the market works is usually when we know something's about to happen, they bake it in. What that means is, hey, this thing's going to happen. Let's start taking advantage of it now. Well, we don't need to wait for 2 weeks to get interest rate down and get this massive bubble of refinances and potential sales. Let's do it now. We're a just-in-time economy. So that started to happen. But while Jennifer was talking, I'd like Mark to come back to that in a second. 3 things. While Jennifer was talking, I realized that a lot of Jennifer and I's, the ones I'm honored enough to work with her on, her first time buyers, they're young, very young. From her, her children have all own homes. To Javier, the gentleman we were talking a minute ago, just others. And
he was on the up end of it in his early 30s.
Got it. So I looked up some statistics. I'm like, what's the average home buyer's age? And guys, it's the highest ever right now for first-time home buyers. It's the highest ever recorded at age 38. Now Jennifer and I we're seeing a little bit different of a trend. It may be the pool we're fishing in, but the reason why is perception. I think a lot of young people are working in what we would call the gig economy, which we can talk about in another episode, and why a gig economy income might be a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
But people are, saying, hey, it's taking large down payments and the interest rates. And I won't get kicked off YouTube for this, but I call BS. And I'm going to say this last thing and hand it over to Mark. I call it BS. So the news wants to trumpet, oh, it's because prices are so high, and it's because the rates are so high and the down payments are so high. Well, is it really, or is it the fact that we've got the highest revolving consumer debt we've ever had in the history of our nation at 29%? And when you pull back the veil, now I can buy a house, rates are low. Oh no, I've got all this debt. And that's where Mark comes into play. Mark, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and as Jennifer was talking, and that's the stuff that was coming into my mind. When you don't have debt, when you attack your debt, when you don't have $1,000, $1,200 car payment going out, all of a sudden, buying a home becomes a reality. It actually can exist and actually be a goal that you can achieve. So absolutely, Lance. I think the last time that I checked, we're seeing credit, amount of credit and debt taken out is still increasing. Even after, I think the last time I checked, it was around $18 trillion worth of debt that Americans are carrying. It's not going down. But however, and you kind of touched on it, that I've been inspired by some of the younger folks that understand the power. They're in that Gen Z young generation. They have understood the power of their income, and they've seen their parents suffer through debt and not being able to think. Yeah, they're not being able to see, they're seeing their parents have struggled through it, and they've said, you know what, I'm not doing that. Yeah. And some of the, just to finish up real quick about what Lance's comment, I'm seeing kids in their 28 to 32-year-olds out of college, no debt, and they're halfway or 3/4 of the way through paying off a house, because they understood the power of wealth and the power of their income and the consequences and the detriments of carrying debt like their parents did for 30 years.
I think that they are also very close to their grandparents.
Yes.
And those grandparents, without trashing parents, they didn't need to, because the kids grew up with the debt and the stress. And they listened to their grandparents about, we didn't have a lot of debt. Most of the grandparents didn't, because they were raised by the Depression kids. And the other thing that I always think about if you're not ready because you're getting yourself in line, or you're waiting to have 2 years of a tax return because now you're 1099, or you have a commission on your base, you ever seen a runner like sitting there like before a race, like doing that, like staying loose, right?
Yep.
They're not in the starting blocks, but they're staying loose so that when the time comes, they are at the starting block, and that's when you're with me. We're going out and we're shopping for houses, and we're going to do this sprint or whatever. But you have to stay loose. And what ends up happening is, if you saw somebody who was waiting for a race and they were drinking a beer and a pizza at the side, would you kind of think like, what are you doing? Right? If you see someone who says, I want to buy a house, but the rates are too high right now and I need to wait, would you not be a little bit aghast if they were going in the meantime and buying an expensive car with a car payment, or buying furniture for that house that they're getting rid of anyway on credit, or doing whatever? And we have seen people, not so much the young ones, but the other ones who own a home, have to reposition themselves because they were sitting drinking pizza and beer on the sidelines waiting for their race.
So one of the things that you, when you were talking, Jennifer, that really came up for me was not only the things that Lance was asking about, but that the preparation phase, that very first step. And I think that is, even in my discovery coaching calls, I feel like the discovery and meeting someone in my coach for the first time and trying to understand what led them to reach out to a financial coach or a career coach is the most important session, because that is where and same thing with buying a house. What can we, okay, let's take it from this perspective. Hi, I'm Mark. I want to buy a house.
Okay. Where do you want to buy a house? When do you want to buy a house? What kind of house do you want to buy?
Yes.
And it's funny because people, sometimes it's the ones who think that they're nowhere close to buying a house. We're like, no, you're good to go. And sometimes people who think that, oh, I'm going to go buy a house. And we're like, oh, sit down, child.
Well, and exactly. And I think between the three of us, with all of the expertise that we have throughout this entire process, from coaching you from it's not yes yet, it may be no, and to your expertise in the realtor, in being a realtor in the Middle Tennessee area, to Lance's expertise in mortgage broking, as a mortgage broker. Combining these talents, it almost kind of fits the phases that, when you think about it, it's like we've got to get ready, we've got to prepare, then we've got to find, then we have to execute. Yeah. And really, I want us to focus, and probably off camera and off session or podcast, probably for us to get together and say, okay, how can we even be more streamlined in approaching the clients that come to us? Yeah. Especially in that preparation phase. And I'll shut up because I know I'm talking a lot. But
well, one of the things too is, the reason, okay, after I ask you those quick basics, one of the first steps before we go out, do anything, is you've got to talk to Lance.
Yeah.
You've got to talk to that lender, because I need to know, okay, we're going on a trip, and I need to know what we have in our toolkit. Are we FHA? Are we VA? Do we have any resources of our own? Where, like, okay, we only have these resources, but if I take us here, it's going to stretch it to this. All those things, like, how can I get your objective, and what do I have to work with it to do it? I kind of feel like a bird dog sometimes, like, okay, I'm getting ready to get turned loose. Let's go, let's go, let's go. This is what I want. This is how we're going to find it. Oh, wait, you've got a muzzle loader. I need to change how I'm doing this. Oh, you have a bow. You have a rifle, whatever it is that you're bird dogging with, changes how I am hunting with you. Yeah.
Ultimately, in doing this, the reason that we are doing these podcasts is so we can help educate people, that they'll find this video online and avoid what I'm about to tell you, like the story I'm about to tell you. So we're an economy, or we're a culture of, I think Jennifer and I talked about this. Is Amazon, what does Amazon really do? Are they a retailer, or are they a convenience company?
Yeah.
They're a convenience company. And so when we want something as a society, the reason is that the man that owns it is the richest person in the world. And when we want something, or I need to work, I'm like, oh gosh, do I have time to run to Walmart today? It's a great retailer. It's going to have the better price. I just don't have time. I'll just order that set of pens, and it comes.
Time is money.
Bingo. And so when we look at things we want, we're also a consumer society. I fight all the time with my children. I'm like, why did you buy that? Did you need it, or did you have this need that you needed to buy something?
Did you DoorDash it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
and
God.
By the way, this is a difference. Hats off to Jennifer. This is a difference between our families, and we all have our pluses and cons. She is her kids, she talks with them about everything. They're very money minded. They got their head on straight. This father made a lot of mistakes. My kids have an issue with whatever they wanted, they got, and they got it right then. They didn't just get, like I did, the hand-me-downs. They got first class for most of their life, and that's on me. It's my wife and I. The things,
wanted to give that to them because you loved it. I know where it came.
I know, but it ultimately is causing some problems. We'll lead into that in a second, because they want to buy. Some of them want to buy a house right now, and having to tell them you can't just go buy a house right now. But here's the thing that complicates that, because they drive down the road in our neighbor in I'll use in Middle Tennessee. I go to a meeting every Tuesday morning in Columbia, Tennessee. And as I drive down that road approaching them, there are all these new home communities. And these are track builders. I'm not going to use names. Track builder means it's a big national name that just buys a lot. They throw up a bunch of houses in 6 months and people buy them. And they're pretty and they have flags out front. And they're like, move in today. Why pay rent?
Yeah.
And what happens is somebody's on their way down to Texas Roadhouse to have dinner. And they see one of those places and they go, let's pull in. And they pull into it. Yep, it's pretty. It looks great. And there's a nice looking young man or woman sitting in there. It's like, hi, welcome. You guys want to buy this? Oh, you can do it really easy. But let me have you sign this piece of paper, because I can't show you. Now, whether this is true or not, Jennifer can speak to this. That this is an open house right off the road, big giant parking lot that you can pull in. People are going in and out, and someone meets you at the door and says, you need to stop right there. I need you to sign this piece of paper, because I can't show this property to you. You are not allowed to come in this center until you sign it. Oh, what's this about? Well, it basically means if you like anything that's here, you got to buy it with me. I'm going to be your agent. Now, Jennifer can talk to that in a minute, but that's kind of one of the things people are running into. So now they're all excited. They want to go in. They sign that piece of paper and they want to go in. And the person's like, oh, yeah, you can do this today. And if you buy it and you use my lender, I'm going to take $10,000 off. Well, can I use my own? Absolutely not, because you just signed that piece of paper. You've got to do what we say. Is that true? May or may not be. Actually, it's not true. You can use who you want. But they're being bombarded with consumerism. They're being bombarded with sales. They might want to meet with the three professionals on this screen, but they're in the here and the now, this consumerism type of thing. So that's why I think in the back of our minds, we all started this podcast, is let's educate people and help them make better decisions. And so I have some family members that are going through exactly what I just told you right now. And it's difficult because they want to take care of it now, but they're not pre-qualified. Their father's a lender, but they're not ready to go.
And a 6 month wait seems forever.
Yep.
But if the 6 month waits saves you 10 or 15,000, is it not worth it?
And it's also going to save the stress because they're not ready to buy a house.
Right.
Well,
if I
they're
told
not.
you,
And
hey, I'm going
someone's
to give you $15,000 to live in your apartment for an extra 6 months.
that's a
Okay.
good way to put it.
This is where one of the key. So what we're talking about is in the coaching world is our mindset and battling our inner voice that gives us permission for the consume now, pay later mindset. And there's a lesson that I coach my clients through. And for anyone listening, this is absolutely a fantastic pro tip for you. But the thing that I'm going to say is that when you choose to alleviate the problem by using something else, you lose the opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
When you choose the harder path, when you choose to work through obstacles, and this is directly from how I coach my clients. When you choose the harder path and you approach every obstacle and you come through each obstacle, yes, you don't get that house today. You might have to go through those hard obstacles, or you might not get that thing that you want to consume right now. But when you do that, you give yourself a chance to grow.
Yeah. I think there's also the dopamine thing of it too.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated here. I get this bright new thing and it's lovely, and I'm going to have the dopamine hit and I'm going to move in. But then when you move in and you're not ready, even if you were able to do it, it's tarnished. And are you, and if you're ready for that dopamine hit and we say, no, you got to hold up a minute, that's an ugly internal feeling. And sometimes that's a backlash on us. But if you go ahead and you are able to buy, and you would have been better to wait just a little bit, then it does tarnish that, because now you're stressed and living in the home, and that home becomes, this becomes the burden.
You know what, Jennifer, you just said the key phrase. It no longer is a home, it becomes a burden.
Yeah, it's not a blessing, it's a burden, and I don't like that.
No, I don't
And
either.
ultimately, that it's a whole bad experience because they're not qualified to buy, and it's not happening right now. It
Yeah.
just isn't. But that's why they need to meet with Mark, and that's why we need to surround yourself with professionals. That's why they need to meet with Jennifer, because she's going to have these hard conversations up front and guide and shepherd. And I'm not. It's a societal thing. A lot of these things are missing. A lot of people are going to their computer. By the way, Mark, there's 2 great AI clips about 3.5 minutes ago that you said that are going to be money that I better see posted later today.
I
Direct.
hope, yes.
And the other thing too, you just said something that made me think about the hold on a minute. What'd you say? Blessed heck.
Something I said?
No, something Lance said that
with Jennifer, they're not ready right now.
Oh, I know what it was. It brought to mind another client that we had in the past. Where there's a will, there's a way. But sometimes you don't want to do that. We had somebody who wanted to get into investing. They were still living in their parents' home. And I said, the first step is to get your home. And that was what? I'm like, no, the first step is to get your home. And they're like, well, I'm going to buy this with an FHA owner occupied loan, but I'm not going to live there. I'm going to rent it out. I'm going to rent it to my brother. I'm going to make that bank from it. I'm like, no, that's mortgage fraud. Well, I'm not going to get caught. Well, there are ways that you can get caught. And I'm not going to be a party to it because I don't need to be involved in that. So, the young, we talk a lot to the young people, and there's a lot of them who are really smart. There's a lot of them who are really scared. There's a lot of them who are listening to things that may have worked for someone else, but were not legitimate ways to do things. So it's just about educating people and making sure that people are getting and doing right. The same thing, Mark, buy your own home before you buy investments. If somebody was renting a home, not yet buying, but they want to buy within a year or two, and they're cleaning up their debt and their credit, should they be investing in stocks and such?
No, you want to. No,
I ran into that too.
You want all available cash to improve to let's go back to what we just said. We don't want that house to be a burden. We want it to be a blessing. When you and I can step into my house right now and talk about the $8,000 repair that I had. How it's not a blessing when you're trying to figure out how to fix something that's $8,000 and you don't have the money to do it.
I would say
I have those hard conversations, and in my coaching sessions, and some of those are right. I have to go that. I wouldn't be a good coach if I didn't.
Right. But I think the only investing you should be doing if you don't own a home yet is a matching at your employer. I think that's the only one.
Right.
I may be wrong because I don't do a lot of investing, but it seems logical to me. Now, once you have the home and an emergency fund and you've got sinking funds for other things, that's the time to then start investing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a point where you've got to make a decision, saving up a down payment for a home, depending on what that is, what that looks like. You have to look at
how much you have a zero down.
Well, you may or you may not. And it all comes back to what available cash do you have from your income to be able to accommodate. If you don't have to do a large down payment, okay, we may be able to invest and save at the same time. But if there's a larger down payment that you want to do, and by the way, invest meaning you're working with a financial advisor. I'm not a financial advisor, so if I misled there, I want to correct that.
Sure.
But number two, if you need a large down payment, yes, you may have to pause your investing. And a lot of people will say, "Oh my gosh, then I'm going to lose in my retirement." Hold on a second, because here's the mindset. The tunnel vision is you're thinking about what you're losing. Well, I'm going to throw this out to anyone listening. Are you not investing if you're saving up money to buy a house?
Right.
Is that not a different form of an investment? So even if you've paused your contributions, and you're saving up money to purchase a home, you're purchasing an asset that appreciates in value. That would be a positive investment.
Right. Well, and Lance, let me ask you too, if you have a VA loan and you, first of all, you save up money, so you're not having to ask the sellers for closing costs, you may get the home at a lesser price.
Yeah.
And additionally, even on a VA loan, if you have your closing costs covered and then you still have additional assets, does that impact the rate that you might get? Like, isn't that looked at well in that algorithm of how things are done? No.
Not on a VA.
Okay.
It's
but there
across the board.
are on some of the other ones, it does come
Yes.
into how much assets you have is an important part of the algorithm.
Absolutely.
So.
Yes.
That's interesting. I may want to talk to you. I need to talk to you, Lance. Yeah. But I think there's in purchasing a home, we're talking about home buying 101.
Mm-hmm.
There is the mathematical side of this that we need to all get ready for and help clients through. But there's also a mindset portion. There is a mental side to this as well.
And home buying is emotional, 100%. That's why we stage things. That's why we present things. It is, and I want people to have that emotional connection to the home they're buying, but I don't want them to run and lead all with emotions. You have to have the balance.
1,000%, Jennifer. Great thing to say.
Well, we're right at 41 minutes. I think it was a good session today.
Yeah.
A lot of things covered, a lot of great AI.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll have a little better opportunity of things uploading correctly.
Yeah. So
but
I'm gonna teach Mark some how to do some AI clips, and then I'm meeting a painter to get do an assessment on a quote for a listing I have coming up. Then I've got a repair meeting today on negotiations. What do the buyers maybe want from the sellers, and what can we get? And then a buyer orientation. What's the rest of y'all's days look like?
Go ahead.
I'm off to meet a client in Murfreesboro who just bought 15 acres in Reedyville. He wants to build a house on it. A long-time Air Force friend of mine.
Nice.
And then I've got a couple loans to submit, so it's exciting. And then my phone will probably explode when the Fed if they do this rate drop.
Yeah.
And then everyone that I have locked will be like, oh, rates are going down. And
yeah,
when I say it's baked in, we're already there. So if anything, unfortunately, let's see, we'll talk about this on the next podcast. The last couple of years, it seems when the Fed drops rate, there's a dip for a millisecond, and then it starts to climb back up as we wait for the next announcement. So we'll see.
So speaking of that, next week, the other thing I have to do today or tomorrow is get some final things to my accountant for my taxes, because 2024s were deferred because of the natural disasters in Tennessee. So I'm getting ready to file those. And, Lance, you and I were talking about different things that you do and don't want to do with lending and with taxes and other things that can really bite you in the fanny when you're getting a loan. So that's something we definitely want to talk about next week.
Yep.
So for me, I've got a coaching client at noon, and that I've been coaching for a little over 7 months. His entire coaching session is all about accountability and the progress that we've made. The second thing that I've got going on is I've got a career coaching client that has lost her job, that we are working through reestablishing that. And that I've also had another person that has referred another career client, and I have a feeling it is a result of the recent posts on social media about something that has not been positive. Mm. So that person, that was kind of the hint that was given to me, that they've lost their job as a result of that, and they're trying to figure out what to do.
That's hard. And it's so hard. I don't care what they say about ageism in hiring. It is really hard to get hired post 50, and certainly post 55. The number of people I have known in the last 20 years that have experienced that is crazy. Mark, are any of those appointments with my 4 children, or do I need to crack the whip on them?
Not yet. I did get a response. I did see a reply to one of those IM that we talked about.
Okay.
I think it was from Will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good kids, but they get busy. And Mariah's got a roof leak probably right now because it's been raining. And so it's probably going to be an insurance situation. So,
yeah. But,
you get these things, you're like getting ready to get this, and then this happens, and then you don't get back to it. And you have to make things that are important a priority. And setting a budget is an important priority.
Yeah. Great session today, you guys.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Good job. Go out and stay busy. And we'll let the
Everybody next week.
do things. Yep. So,
Bye, guys.
see ya.